Do you hate how slow your PC is? Can't afford a RAM upgrade or an SSD? Well, the best course of action is to upgrade to Linux. I know it's a scary thought to change your operating system, but believe me when I say there are many reasons to upgrade. I know that Linux has a reputation of being hard to use, but I assure you it might have been only true somewhat in the past. Nowadays, most Linux distros, more on that later, come pre-packaged with a lot of built-in stuff to help you, which means that you don't have to hunt down various drivers or know what drivers even are. Similar to how Android phones have unique versions of Android, Linux comes in different flavors called distros, short for distribution. You might be asking, like, sure, cool information, but like, can you tell me why it's better? Well, here are few reasons, I believe, as to why Linux is a superior operating system: variety and transparency. Due to having a lot of distros, you never have to be tied to a single company or group, and you don't have to stick with those group when they eventually do something bad, and you can just go to a different distros, and you can actually import features to the new one that you're currently using. We all heard the privacy concerns with operating systems like macOS or Windows, and when it comes to Linux, most OSs don't actually track you, and if they do, they're open source, meaning you can actually check the code and you can actually see what sort of information they're sending. And speaking of variety, there is a lot of distros. Do you want one with a very basic user interface or no user interface at all? You can. Do you want a one with a lot of bells and whistles and features? Great, there's a lot of them. There's Ubuntu, there's Pop! OS, there's Manjaro. And you can also remove features that you don't feel are contributing to you. You can just remove them. Another reason I really like Linux is the performance. When I'm just idling around in Windows, I can notice like usage of my RAM reaching like 2 gigabytes. That is insane. Well, for example, using Ubuntu, I've noticed that while idling, meaning I don't really do anything, I can see that my RAM usage is like 700 megabytes instead. And Ubuntu isn't the only distro that you can choose. There's also Lubuntu and Linux Lite, which you can use with only 2 gigabytes of RAM and still perform really well. Another advantage that Linux has is the sense of community. Ever have a problem with Linux? There's gonna be a ton of dedicated fans who will gladly help you, either on a post on a forum or a YouTube video, which there are a ton. A problem I had when I was just using Linux for the first time is trying to learn how to download programs from the terminal. Turned out I was missing an additional repository in my package manager. What's a package manager? That actually moves us to the fourth reason I believe Linux is superior. So we all have phones, right? We use the App Store or the Play Store to download additional programs that our phone didn't come with, right? Well, did you know that the idea was actually started in Linux? They made downloading programs a breeze. You can either do them through the terminal, or you can use actually an App Store found in many distros. And the upside don't stop there. This might be jarring for many Windows or macOS users, but using the terminal is actually a feature, not a drawback to Linux. With the terminal, you can update your system, you can update your apps, you can shut down your PC. Why I consider this a feature? This may not be related completely to the terminal use. You are never forced into upgrading or updating your system with Linux, and even if you do, a restart isn't even mandatory. What I especially love about the terminal is that I can change the settings of my computer in it. Why is that an upside? Well, because sometimes when I use my phone or my Windows computer to change settings, I often have to hunt down the specific setting that I want. Imagine this scenario, okay? You know exactly what setting to change, but unfortunately, you can't exactly find the drop menu, or maybe Microsoft decided to change the sound mixer to sound balance. With the terminal, there's none of it. You put the exact command that you want, and the change actually happens. At the end, I do hope that this video has helped you consider a new way to recycle old electronics instead of throwing them away. And for the gamers among you, you don't really have to sacrifice on playing games for you to enjoy Linux. Steam has been developing Proton, a compatibility layer that makes it so that you can run Windows-only game on your Linux machine, which has been improving a lot since it first came out. With all the support that big companies like Google or Valve has been developing and working with Linux, I do genuinely believe that Linux would be eventually the future of how we use our computers and their operating systems.